Thanks for the clock.
Looks like we're live.
Hello, financial professionals. I'm Bill Anderson, wealth strategist with E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to The Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in today. For those of you that are joining The Brew for the first time, we'd like to welcome you. We always kind of start off The Brew with what national day or days it is. So today is National Hot Sauce Day. Also, National Polka Dot Day, say that fast, as well as one of my favorites, National Grandpa Day. Now, if my kids are ever watching this, would you get busy? Tired of asking. Anyways, onwards. On today's brew, we are continuing our estate planning focus of January. Joining us today is Brett Mieras, Field Vice President of Pacific Life, who will share some hot sauce topics. See the little tie-in? Anyways, thought I'd continue the corniness, right? But some hot topics and solutions for clients moving forward under the new presidential regime. These tried and tested strategies are coming to the forefront of solutions for your clients. We encourage you to use a chat box or raise a hand to ask any questions. All attendees are entered into a drawing at the end of this for a CE voucher and a Starbucks gift card. We will announce that again at the end. So, Brett, thank you for tuning in and joining us today. The last 2 weeks on The Brew, we've interviewed an estate planning attorney as well as a CPA from Minnesota who also specializes in the estate planning area. Today, we're following up those interviews and taking it literally to the street, as I call it. Somebody that actually is out there doing what the bulk of our audience does in delivering financial solutions and advice to clients. But before we get into that, anybody that's looking on their vlog screen right now is saying, wow, look at that baby face, right? Yet I know you've been doing this for a while, so I'm going to ask you just to give us a little bit of your background in the financial services industry and, how long you've been doing it, et cetera. There you go. Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill, for giving me the opportunity to be here on this today. I really do appreciate the partnership that we've kind of established here in the Minnesota area. But about me, so I've been doing this for over a decade. I started as an advisor way back with AXA Advisors, selling insurance to farmers and doing policy reviews, trying to sell my college friends and all that great stuff, different investment strategies. Did pretty well. Got the DSF champion is what it was called in that, but being away from home really wasn't the best thing as we were starting a new family and all that stuff. So moved to Pacific Life, and I started on the annuity and mutual fund desk. And about 2 years into that, they plucked me off of the annuity mutual fund desk and moved me to the Washington, D.C. area to start a scratch territory. Run rate was very low. It was under $1 million going into it as far as target premium is concerned. And over the next 3.5, 4 years, I was able to quintuple that and left there with $5.5 million of paid business as they moved me from the Mid-Atlantic to the Midwest back to Minnesota, where my wife is from. And so I've been here for a few years and took the territory from kind of about a little bit. I think we did about 5 million in 2023 to in 2024 we did over 10. And so I did that by simply just being present and telling simple, repeatable stories that gather assets for advisors to bring them back into their book.
Yep. Yeah. I remember when I first met you probably 2.5-ish years ago or so. And I always talk about the DNA, right? And when I first met you, it's like, yep, this kid's got that DNA. He's going to be successful. And yeah, it's fun to hear your story literally from 2023 to 2024, doubling it, right? But that doesn't come without an awful lot of hard work. I'm assuming you're probably going to more than double it in 2025, right? Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. But in that, it didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of hard work. Just give me a couple thoughts on what did you replicate? What did you do in the Mid-Atlantic that you also did here that just works?
So absolutely, I learned a lot, got my teeth kicked in, cut my teeth, all that great stuff in the Mid-Atlantic that really helped me kind of accelerate what I did in the Midwest. And it was simply finding the right people to partner with, finding the people who kind of not only understood it, you mentioned the DNA piece of it, but then also had the process behind it as well to take it to that next step. Actual actionable items, next steps always. How do we keep that ball moving forward, especially with clients?
Yep.
Because clients kind of do the whole hum thing. But then more importantly, it was what stories create a lot of interest with advisors, but more importantly with their clients, right? And so I talk a lot about, life with long-term care planning. I talk a lot about LERPs or accumulation that we call it, estate planning, and more importantly, really the Secure Act has been my number one topic
Yeah.
more recently than not. And that's really taken off and helped me escalate to that next level.
Well, and let's dig into that because you and I I know I was a sounding board for you, and together we were both creating things that we were taking out to our audiences, right?
Mhm.
And then we realized we need to be doing this together, right? And it really is when Secure Act 1.0 became Secure Act 2.0, and we got pretty busy on it. So I'm
Mhm.
going to ask you, this is a video law, right? So sometimes this is just an interview, and sometimes we're showing videos. I'm going to ask you to share your screen, and I want you to show that ultimately what we get to is called, you and I call AUM insurance. So
Yeah.
it's around, well, I'll let you explain it. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, 5 years ago, Bill and I wouldn't be talking about this at all. It would be what's the best thing you can do for your client, and it was simply the stretch IRA. Stretch it to the next generation, stretch it beyond that. Hopefully, it lasts for perpetuity. It's not going to, but that's the hope. Is really what we do is that we outpace what we have to do for RMDs with performance. 5 years ago, the government said, nope, we've let you defer the taxes that you've paid on this money for however long, and so now your non-spousal beneficiaries, for most of them, not for all, but for most instances, you have 10 years to get rid of it, right?
Right.
And what does that look like? You can take it all out in 1 year. You can wait till the 10th, take it all out in the 10th year and pay a lot of taxes. Take it out in little bits of time, little chunks of time. But what we decided ultimately was why don't we kind of look at what this looks like from a planning perspective and really create the best possible solution that can keep the most assets in your AUM right now, but more importantly, replenish what's going to be taken. You don't get to pay those. They take taxes by the IRS down the road. And so what we came up with was a simple concept that really kind of is best of both worlds. And so this is the presentation that Bill and I do, but what we really want to show you is more granular data numbers of the data behind the data. So slides are awesome. This is what matters right here. And so what Bill's talking about is if we have $1 million IRA, how about we take about 5% out of that IRA. We're showing a 5% rate of return on this as well, which is why it's going down. But about a 5% distribution from that IRA, pay the premium to replenish what we've lost in taxes with a second to die life insurance policy. And what you'll notice is it starts about a million and kind of stays around that area right there until we get to later in life at life expectancy, when it's about half of what it would be. But here's the important thing. The IRA also dwindles because of RMDs. So you're not really losing too much. What you're doing is doing some planning and actually prepaying the tax bill. But what's more important is you're getting to that next generation because now you have the beneficiaries. Now you can show them the planning you're doing for them. You're showing what mom and dad did to make sure that they had the assets they needed to live the lifestyle that they want to as well.
Right. Right. So you're basically saying we should do, a Roth conversion is kind of a common strategy, right?
Mhm.
Is the is the gross worth the grief? It's just
Yeah.
kind of a lot of grief, right? So you're using your own AUMs and you're paying the tax from somewhere else technically, right? But how does that all play out? And I ultimately want you to get to that grid that you have or that line chart, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's great. And I mean, I went through kind of the do nothing scenario, right? I went through
Yeah.
the insurance scenario, but what about that Roth conversion scenario that
Yeah.
most people talk about, but not a whole lot do? And after they do a few of them, they're like, you know what? This is costing me money out of my AUM. Is it right for the client? Absolutely, but there's no guarantee it's going to come back. And oh, by the way, the Roth is open to estate taxes. So if you are in Minnesota, you get the ability to pay 16% over $3 million. 6 million for joint. But at a federal level, you get 40% taxed on that Roth IRA as well, as it's includable in your estate. So depending on where you're at, could really depend on how this operates. If we just take out the federal and we just look at options, traditional IRA versus the Roth conversion, do it. Do it all right now. Get it done with. Dig that hole, climb that mountain, because in 7 short years, if you're 67 and 65, for instance, you're in the black, right? You've gotten to the pain point, and now it's all in the black, right? But notice the blue highlighter down the way. It takes to age 95 and 93, which is significantly over life expectancy for most people, to pass through what the life insurance can do for you. And oh, by the way, there's more benefits as well in the second to die, as you actually have the cash value that you can access very simply in a non-reportable tax-free way. And so all those numbers go to show, if we just do, the orange, that's the traditional IRA, and 500,000 doesn't really go too much higher, ends about a 500,000 that you pass on to your net beneficiaries. It's awesome. Bill, do you know one person who's not going to say, I'll take $500,000 a day?
No, of course not.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But what if, we do the green one? Awesome. The longer that we live in this scenario at that rate of return, the more wealth we ultimately pass on. Or we get a little bit more realistic about it and say, we're probably going to pass away somewhere in our 80s. What if we could give our beneficiaries $1 million apiece if we have two? Versus one and a quarter. Yep. Divided by 2, right? So that's really what we're talking about, is where's that crossover? Where's that math? It's not going to be the same for every single person. But more importantly, the way that I'm positioning this, and I know Bill is too, is the taxes their kids will pay. You're going to get that grump who's like, they get what they get, they don't have a fit. It's going to happen. But if you find 6 clients that this might be a fit for, and client profile really fast, age 60 to 75 years old, ideally about 2 years into retirement, so they don't have the income scaries anymore, that they know that this is going to be a leave on asset, and they have about $500,000 or more in that balance, whether it's from an IRA or even an annuity that they're not going to use. We can oftentimes put them in a much better situation by simply just looking at a way that we can reposition that asset to maximize their leave on.
Awesome. So what this chart in summary is telling me is, if you've got longevity in your family and you're both going to live to mid to late 90s, maybe the Roth conversion makes sense. Anything prior to that, you're probably better off doing the strategy that we call IRA Max. And kind of what I find interesting in working with advisors is, when that longevity is there, it's not that it's you do this versus that. You might do both and actually complement them. Correct, Brett?
It's complementary to what they're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. It's not an either or, not whatsoever.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for that. So, noting that the audience today is primarily advisors, from money managers to insurance professionals and many RIAs and IARs, what do you look for, Brett, when you're partnering up in a strategic relationship, knowing that it's a two-way street, of course? Who do you want to work with?
Absolutely. Those who want to partner is the biggest one for me, right? I mean, you can go through like, hey, how many assets under management, opportunities, all that great stuff. And that's fine and well and dandy. They usually have partners that they're working with right now. So what I look for is somebody who actually wants to partner, wants to have a process, understands it is a two-way street, that there's that mutual respect, right? Look, table stakes, my team behind me is awesome at doing anything that you need, whether it is illustrations, underwriting, help with applications, kind of all those pieces that are necessary. I have people for that, which is awesome. I'm looking for those who want to go deeper and actually build almost an established fortress around their practice and around their book to keep the foxes out of the hen house.
Right.
I look for those people who really want to go deep with their clients, do what's in their best interest oftentimes, and find creative solutions to complex problems. That's what I look for.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. So, Brett, is there a question that we haven't asked today that you would like the audience to have an answer to?
what are the next steps, right? What do I need to look for? Bill, for you, what are you looking for? Like if they call to say, hey, Bill, I got a guy, but I got 25 guys. What does that look like, right?
Hey, I'm hosting this month, right? You don't get to ask that question. I'm asking you the questions, my friend. So, but yeah, you're spot on. It's what I love about working with you is you always ask that question, right? What are the next steps? So thank you for bringing that up. I mean, here's the beauty of this thing is Brett's available. What do you cover? 20 states?
Yeah, I have
So
11.
11. Okay. It seems like 30 to me, but yeah, he is available to help out. And if he is in the wrong state from where you're located, not a big deal. He's part of a very succinct, tight team that, how many of there is it? Six of you guys? Five of you
We have
guys?
6. Mhm.
Six. Yeah. And I mean, they're all as good and professional as Brett is. Granted, they don't all have the baby face running. But anyways, with that, while we wait for any final questions, I don't see any in the chat yet, but I'd like to remind you that on today's brew, our entire library is recorded and shared on the brew through our website, www.e4.insurance, .com, right? And I know the www thing, it's because I'm old. I want to be a grandpa that, I got to say that. But anyways, today's recording will be posted on our brew page on our website, added to our library, and also emailed out to advisors later. Now, it's time for the giveaway, Brett. So I want you to pick a number between 1 and 65, please.
16.
16. Right, there's a thing going on in the background. And let's see, the winner is Jeff Allen. Congratulations. You are the lucky winner of a CE voucher, complimentary CE voucher, as well as a Starbucks gift card. So that'll be coming your way from us at E4. Next week on the brew, we're going to wrap up our estate planning focus and be joined by Phil Hogg, who is our Senior Vice President of Sales at E4. Basically, what he's going to talk about is the changes he sees coming this year, 2025, with the presidential change and change of regime, I like to call it, and just kind of see where this all goes, right? So he's got a very smart guy, kind of like you, Brett. He's young and smart and baby faced, and can just has some wonderful thoughts on things. So let's see here. Brett, are you seeing premium finance cases these days, or is that still a slowdown with the interest rate uncertainty?
I am seeing a lot of premium financing cases, but the clientele has shifted more towards business owners who are making 20, 25%, or traders who are doing the same in their businesses, who the 7% interest rates are basically de minimis as they're getting 20, 25% in their other assets to keep that capital retained in that business.
Right. So it's a different clientele, but the business is still there. It's
Mhm.
just, yeah, interest rates are a little bit higher and yeah, it's still happening. And that uncertainty, I mean, you think about a premium finance situation, it's always got the risk of the interest rate. But yeah, I'm just thinking of a gentleman that I'm working with that sold a car dealership, very large car dealership in a good sized town in Minnesota. And he's now hanging out in Florida and he's antsy because he always wants to invest in another business. And when he heard it was only 7% to borrow the money in a finance situation, he's big old smile on his face, right? It's like he's used to making 15, 20% on everything he touches. So thank you for sharing that. All
Mhm.
right. Well, with that, we will go ahead and close this down. Brett, thank you for your time today. We very much appreciate it. And everybody watch for this recording. And if questions come up and they want to get in touch with Brett, you want to just lay out your phone number real quick so people can call you.
Absolutely. Phone number is 443-534-7246. And if I could just add one more thing,
Please.
your first view of any sort of positioning of insurance, definitely do it with somebody. Learn from osmosis. You might have the idea of like the investment in a different kind of view or lens that you're hearing a question from versus a Bill Anderson who does this for a living at a very high level. When the client asks a certain question, he can understand kind of what they're asking versus the other piece of it. So it's a really kind of cool thing you can do to actually help yourself and help your clients understand it better if you bring a partner with you. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the Brew, Brett, and appreciate your time. Everybody
Absolutely.
take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.